You know, every single one of us is a world builder. It's true. You did it last night, and you're going to do it again tonight. Dreaming. It's one of the most personal and yet most universal things we do. But it's also one of our biggest mysteries. So what is actually going on in our heads during those hours we're just lost in our own minds? Let's get into it.
Just really think about that for a minute. Your brain doesn't just conjure up some fuzzy images. No, it builds a complete three-dimensional, fully sensory world. It's got people, it's got sounds, it's filled with emotions. Sometimes you can even touch and smell things. You are in it completely. And then, poof, you wake up and it's just gone.
And we spend, on average, 6 full years of our lives inside these worlds. 6 years. When you think about that, you just have to ask, what is all that time for? What's the point?
To even start to unpack that, we've got to look back. Because, this is not a new question. Pretty much every culture in history has peered into that world inside their own heads and asked, why? For most of history, dreams were seen as something mystical, right? They were messages from the gods or maybe a sneak peek into the future. The ancient Egyptians even had these incredibly detailed dream dictionaries. But then you get thinkers like Aristotle who started looking for a more down-to-earth explanation. He figured they were just echoes of our day. Fast forward to Freud, who famously called dreams a royal road into our subconscious. But the real game changer? That came in 1953, when we finally discovered the specific state our brain is in when all this magic happens. And that discovery, it opened up a whole new world for researchers. We could finally stop just asking people what they dreamed about and start looking at what the brain was actually doing. See, we cycle through different sleep stages all night long, but about every 90 minutes or so, we drop into what's called REM sleep. This is the main event. It's where those vivid, story-like dreams happen. And what's totally wild is that during REM, your brain is firing on all cylinders. It's almost as active as it is right now while you're awake and listening to me. Okay, now look at this, because this shows you just how different our brain is when we're dreaming. The part of your brain in charge of logic and rational thought, the prefrontal cortex, yeah, that's pretty much offline, which is exactly why you can be flying through the sky or having a deep conversation with a talking dog, and your brain just goes, yep, this is normal. But your emotional center, the amygdala, that thing is hyperactive. That's where all the intense fear or joy or anxiety in dreams comes from. Your brain is literally building a reality from the inside out. And maybe the most important thing your brain does during all this, it keeps you safe. While your mind is off running from a monster or scoring the winning goal, your brainstem basically hits a safety switch. It's a state called REM atonia, and it paralyzes your body so you don't start physically acting out these wild adventures in your bed. Pretty smart, right? So we've got the what and the how, but that still leaves the biggest question of all. Why? Why does our brain go to all this trouble every single night? And this is where the real scientific debate kicks off. Back in 1977, the first major neurological theory came out. And it was kind of a buzzkill. It basically said dreams are meaningless. They're just your conscious brain trying to stitch together a coherent story, a synthesis, out of completely random electrical signals firing up from your brainstem. So that bizarre dream you had, just your brain trying to make sense of static. But hold on, that theory has a huge hole in it. If dreams are really just random, why do we all dream about the same kinds of things? I mean, across every culture, all through history, people consistently have more anxious dreams, being chased, falling, failing a test, than happy ones. That doesn't sound very random, does it? So that search for a real purpose has led researchers to two really fascinating and competing ideas. Are our dreams a kind of mental rehearsal space, or are they a form of nightly psychological repair? The first one, threat simulation theory, is pretty cool. It argues that dreaming is basically an ancient virtual reality simulator that we evolved. Think about it. Our ancestors lived in a world full of danger. A brain that could safely run drills and practice escape plans every single night, that would give you a massive survival advantage. So in this view, your nightmares aren't a bug in the system, they're the system working perfectly. The other big idea is that dreaming is like overnight therapy. This theory says that during REM sleep, your brain gets to work processing the emotional stuff from your day. It kind of takes the sting out of tough memories, but it keeps the lessons learned. As one scientist beautifully put it, you go to sleep with a fresh wound and you wake up with a scar. So which one is it? Are dreams for rehearsal or are they for repair? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The latest research is now telling us it's both. We now think that during the very same dream, our brains are multitasking.
We're running those threat simulations and we're processing emotional memories. It seems like dreaming is a mental multi-tool. Probably because those two jobs are so deeply connected. I mean, to really learn from a scary event, you have to process the emotion and rehearse how to handle it better next time.
But even if we know what dreams do for us, their function, that doesn't get us any closer to answering the deepest, most profound question of all, which is how they even exist in the first place. This right here is what philosophers and scientists call the hard problem of consciousness. We can map all the electrical signals, we can measure the chemicals, but we have absolutely no scientific theory for how all that physical activity creates the subjective, first-person feeling of being in a world. How does brain stuff become mind stuff? Every single night, your brain proves it can create consciousness out of thin air, and we have no idea how. And get this, it's not just a human mystery. All mammals dream. We've seen rats in labs replaying the memory of a maze they learned step by step in their sleep. And even octopuses, which are so different from us evolutionarily, show these skin patterns while they sleep that look like they're replaying their waking experiences. Whatever dreaming is for, it's ancient and it's fundamental.
And maybe the most mind-bending discovery of all comes from lucid dreamers, people who realize they're dreaming while they're dreaming. In lab studies, these dreamers have actually been able to communicate with scientists in real time. They'll answer questions using prearranged eye movements, all while their brain scans confirm they are totally soundly asleep. The wall between the dream world and the waking world, it's not nearly as solid as we thought.
So where does all this leave us? Well, we know for sure that dreaming is absolutely essential for our mental and emotional health. You literally can't live without it. But we still don't have one single final answer for why your brain builds you a whole private universe every single night.
So in the end, it really comes down to this. Are your dreams just a biological tool, a piece of software running maintenance and threat rehearsals, with the experience just being a side effect? Or are they something more? A genuinely meaningful state of consciousness that lets us tap in to something our waking minds just can't reach? A tool or a state of being? It's something to think about tonight as you close your eyes and your brain gets ready to build you another world.